Do you love TV shows? We do too. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Anna, and we're the hosts of We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, a podcast hosted by us, a married couple with an endless love for TV.
Whether you're searching for a new favorite series or ready to revisit an old classic, we're here to guide you through an infinite world of TV shows.
Each episode, we watch and discuss the pilot for shows, while also sharing personal stories that parallel the storyline.
So if you're tired of endlessly scrolling and not sure what to watch next, tune in and let us do the searching for you.
We Judge a Show by Its Pilot. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Your new favorite show is just one click away. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our pod.
Hey, welcome back to a rainy day.
Rainy day.
It's been raining all morning.
I mean, everyone was kind of not freaking out, but
they were.
Oh, they were? Okay, well.
In light of what happened, sadly, in Texas, and events of about 10 years ago in the Denham Springs and Baton Rouge areas, people have been on edge about flash flooding and heavy rains, but mostly continuous heavy rains.
Right.
So this started yesterday and has been going on all night and all morning.
Yeah, it has not stopped.
It has not stopped. So...
yeah,
definitely people get on edge, but it is what it is. And
right.
You have to figure it out.
Exactly.
So you have to go to work and...
Yep, got to drive in it.
Yeah.
Which I had to do. But yeah, so we are coming to an end to UK month.
Yep.
So we were originally going to do, how many was it? 9, because that was before we made the decision to just do once a week. So we only didn't do 2 of them.
Yeah, we just didn't do 2, Peaky Blinders and Doctor Who. We watched them.
Right, we watched both of them, liked both of them. I'd seen Doctor Who before.
I had 2 in the 80s.
I had watched Peaky Blinders, but watching it with you, I didn't remember any of it other than the whole pub, the girls singing at the pub scene. I remembered that part. And then kind of the twist at the end when you find out who she works with. Like, I remember that.
Yeah.
But I was just like, but I'm sure we will find a way to do those 2 shows at some point.
For sure.
It'll be in the back of our heads. We've already seen the pilot, just like we have with Fargo twice. So
we'll get to Fargo one day.
You know what? Maybe one month our theme should be like our redo month.
Well,
or
shows
like our
that
second
we
chances
watched,
or
but
third.
that we never recorded.
Yeah. Because there have been a few. I mean, there have been more than just those 3.
Yeah.
There was one where we were gonna do One Tree Hill, and then that was like we kind of found out some controversy with that TV show.
Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke was our original 4 that we did. That was Freaks and Geeks, Scrubs, Sex and the City.
Scrubs is a great one
and they just announced the reboot.
Yeah,
the
all
revival,
the people are coming back.
Everyone's coming back. I'm really excited about that. That is the first reboot that I've like that and Community are the 2 that I've been the most genuinely excited about.
And I'm actually genuinely excited that I brought up something that you didn't even think about.
Yeah, exactly.
Their kids.
Yes. Yeah. So in the final, technically the series finale of Scrubs, the one that I like to count as the series finale, you kind of see a flash forward to their lives, and JD's son and Turk's daughter get engaged, and they like flip out over it because it's like they did it.
Dream.
They did it. Yeah. So
they're related literally now. Like,
so by this point, the kids are gonna be. I think I said they're gonna be like 19 and 20. I think that's what I said. And probably by the time it comes out, they could be a little bit older.
Yeah.
And who knows? It's a sitcom. You can time jump as much as you want. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's gonna be really. I know we're talking about another show on this show, but I'm super excited about that.
That's what we do.
Yeah. So we are closing out UK month, and we are doing it with a show that neither one of us has ever seen, and trying to incorporate a newer show each month has kind of been our thing since we did a couple months ago. I don't remember specifically which ones they were. Y'all, we watch a lot of TV shows.
Yeah. But
this is each month we're gonna try and pick a show that like is recent. Maybe that come out. Maybe if it didn't come out in the last year, maybe in the last like 2 or 3 years, something new.
Yeah.
And this is one we had never seen, but our entire friend group has watched it and was telling us to watch it.
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, everyone's telling us to watch it. We might as well just throw it into UK month. And that is Department Q.
Department Q.
It's a Netflix original. It just came out in May. So Anna's going to go ahead and do what she does and give us some episode and series information.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and say there are some names here that I might mess up in the actors and stuff. There are just one or two.
Okay.
All right, Department Q, Episode 1. Department Q is a British crime thriller that premiered on Netflix on May 29th, 2025. The series currently only has one season with 9 total episodes, and a second season hasn't been announced. Department Q is based off a series of Danish crime noir novels of the same name written by Jussi Adler Olsen. Along with the recent TV series, the novels have been adapted into several successful Danish films.
Yeah, might have to check those out.
Yeah, for sure. The TV series focuses on top-rated detective Carl Morck as he returns to work after a shooting incident, leaving him badly wounded. His best friend and colleague was paralyzed, and a fresh uniformed officer was shot dead. Carl returns to work after a leave of absence and is assigned to a newly created department that works on unsolved cases. The series cast includes Matthew Good as Detective Chief Inspector Carl Morck, Chloe Peary as Merritt Lingard, a ruthless prosecutor, Jamie Sieves as James Hardy, Carl's former partner, Alexej, Manvalov as Akram Saliv, a Syrian police officer who has fled his country in hopes of finding a job in the UK, Leah Byrne as Detective Constable Rose Dixon, a young police officer looking to prove herself, Kelly MacDonald as Dr. Rachel Irving, a police therapist assigned to Morck's mandatory sessions, Katie Dickey as Moira Jacobson, Morck's commanding officer.
Yeah, your fave from Prometheus and Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. Patrick Kennedy as Liam Taylor, another prosecutor. Mark Bonner as Stephen Burns, Lord Advocate and Morck's former supervisor. Department Q has received generally positive reviews from both critics and audiences. Despite having an oversaturation of procedural and crime dramas, Department Q has managed to captivate audiences with its likable and relatable characters, enthralling and thrilling storytelling, and great writing. You can currently watch Department Q on Netflix.
Yeah, so what'd you think of the pilot? I know we had to watch it twice.
Well, because
I had to write out
the plot summary. You couldn't find like a good summary or at least something to guide you.
So usually I'll copy and paste a plot summary, or I'll read one and just kind of write it in my own words so it's easier for me to read. But for this one, there wasn't one since it's just such a new show. So yeah, we had to rewatch it. And also, we kind of watched it a while ago. I was like, let's rewatch it to refresh our memories.
I really liked it, and to quite literally say it started off with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
It did.
I was kind of thinking to myself, and I was just comparing it to, of course, my ultimate fave, Law and Order, because you kind of get the police and then the the justice system kind of going, although they're not like as intertwined as say like a Law and Order TV show series is kind of. But I really like it. I mean, you throw in anything with legal stuff or, you know, crime, mystery, all of that, thriller, I'm all about it. And it was really good in the sense of the way it was written and all of the characters. What about you?
I liked it. At first, it did start off with a bang, quite literally, and also figuratively. Even with that, I was just kind of like you said in the episode and series information, there's just such an oversaturation of this genre of TV. I mean, just the list goes on and on. Cop shows, law shows, that kind of thing. So I went in a little skeptical just because I was like, okay, well, what can they do that no one's done before? Or what can they do that's been done before, but how can they make it more interesting? Because I think that's more of what people do nowadays. It's more of the same. It's just which actors are you going to get? Like, you know, what, you know, like with, I mean, I seriously doubt Dr. Odyssey is that great of a show, but it's Joshua Jackson. You got to watch it.
Oh,
so, I mean, like, you
it's
know,
amazing. So, yeah.
His return to TV after, I mean, Dawson's Creek and Fringe. So everyone's just like, hell yeah. I think it got canceled though.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, we never watched it. We kept seeing the trailer for it. Something we were watching, we kept seeing the trailer for it. And we were like, are we going to watch this? And we never did.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Maybe another short-lived series.
Maybe. I don't know if it's officially been canceled yet, but it seems like it's going to be. Anyway, so I went in a little skeptical. I went in a little bit like, okay, what's this going to be about? But I got to say, I mean, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was based off of a book series. I didn't know that until I typed this out. But and then there's like a whole other like series of movies. Like I kind of love it when stuff like that kind of pops up because it's like when the American Girl with the Dragon Tattoo came out. And then you find out, oh no, they've already done this whole movie series in Sweden. You're like, well, I want to watch that. You're just like, okay. And then I watched that, and it was so good. And I was always a little bummed it didn't get, because the American film was really good, but like they just didn't continue making the American trilogy. But I really liked Department Q. I really liked the characters. It had that dry humor, that dry British humor that I love so much. It had, I mean, really great actors, like we said. I think her name's Katie Dixon.
Yeah.
Katie Dickey.
Katie Dickey.
We
Prometheus.
We
Game of
love
Thrones.
Prometheus, and her scenes in Game of Thrones are quite memorable.
Oh yeah.
But I definitely want to keep watching this. Like, you know, it's 9 episodes. How easy is that? Like, we could actually finish this. You know, we always talk about wanting to continue watching these shows, and we're just like, well, are we really gonna keep watching them?
It's very difficult.
It is.
I
think, and also now that we're doing 1 episode a week, I think we are going to be able to start dedicating time to actually watching the shows that we do. Yeah.
And even of these short ones to maybe actually finishing.
I mean, because we still have like season 2 of Heartbreak High. I want to watch that. Like, we have all these. Ginny and Georgia apparently like goes off the rails, and I want to see how that goes. Like, you know, we've Grace and Frankie, girl name, all these different ones. Like, so I definitely want to keep watching this. We can easily watch it. And it's on Netflix. I mean, not everyone has Netflix, but I mean, so many people have Netflix, so really easy to find. All right, so I have, you know, when there's lawyers involved, I'm going to ask you something about you because you went to law school.
Yes.
You teach law students. Can I call you an attorney? I can't call you an attorney.
I am technically an attorney because I have a JD.
That's what
I
it
am
is.
Not licensed to practice.
Okay, so you are an unlicensed attorney.
Correct.
Okay, that's too long. I'm just gonna call you Anna.
You can just call me your boo.
Yeah. So you have all these things that I just said. So when you were in law school, or before law school, maybe after you were done. No, not after you were done, because that was when you got hired by Thomson Reuters. By your job, but when you were in law school, was there ever a time where you were like, I'm going to be a defense attorney, or I'm going to be a prosecutor, or I'm going to be like a not civil rights, but like
there's civil rights
attorney and
environmental attorney.
Yeah.
Not exactly. Like, what inspired me to go to law school was the murder of Jennifer Levin, also known as the Preppy murder in Central Park of New York.
Got it.
She was about a year older than me, and when I was reading books after that were written about the case, the murder, the subsequent trials, and the thing that got me about it was the rules of evidence, and that her sexual past, her promiscuity was all allowed to be brought into evidence. However, his past, drug use, theft, burglary, fights, violence.
His profile.
Just who he was.
His criminal profile, I mean.
Well.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
his background was not allowed to be brought into court because it was, the rules of evidence say your prior bad acts can't be brought against you in this case. And I just always felt, well, they're just slamming her for being a slut, or, she was not a slut. She had sex before.
By their definition.
By their definition. And so they were trying to say she had essentially like did this to herself during rough sex. The whole like absurdity of that whole defense was insane. And so there might have been a point where I was like, I could be a prosecutor, although I don't think I'm emotionally able to be a prosecutor. Then later in life, during the O.J. Simpson trial, what was crazy was, and not that I believe in any way of O.J. Simpson's innocence in any way whatsoever, I always found it fascinating of what it would have been like to have been on his defense team. And working at the firm where the people were working, the law clerks, the paralegals, the secretary, the medical team, the people gathering discovery, like everybody, like the behind the scenes and the money that goes into that. So either option would have been something I would have been interested in, I think. I did work in a toxic torts plaintiff's firm. I also had a real deep interest in immigration law because of my parents, especially, and their history coming to this country and the plight of immigrants still to this day. But obviously my teaching was something that I've been very passionate about since I was very little. So that was kind of my calling and what I've been doing for almost 30 years. So, I feel like I could have been any kind of attorney because I had interest in a lot of different areas. And I think that that's really common with law students. They come in thinking, oh, I'm going to be this kind of attorney. And then they're doing something else. I mean, even like Sarah, I think if she's listening, and I don't know this for sure, but I think she started out in family law and then she went she does title work now. And, I think she's always looking to pivot and change things. And I think a lot of attorneys do that. So I think that's a great thing about the practice of law is that you can do a lot of different things in different ways. So, yeah.
All right. So this show, there's a little kind of, I don't know. We've only watched the first episode, so I don't know how much of this they explore. But there's a kind of a side storyline that Morck has to do kind of like mandatory therapy sessions in order for him to come back. I mean, I think a lot of people have to do that.
Because of what happens early on.
Right. Because of what happens at the beginning of the episode. He had a great deal of trauma in the field while on the job. And there was an incident that happened, so he has to, I'm pretty sure it's like in order to return to work, he has to do a certain amount of hours, or maybe until the therapist is like he's okay,
signs off on it.
And he has to go to therapy. So, and there is kind of this other side storyline with his former partner. So it's kind of like I'm wondering if there's going to be this side storyline about like mental health and about like trauma and grief. And I think there's a suggestion that the former partner becomes suicidal. So, I mean, like, it's very sad, and it's very, we've all had to deal with grief in some way. We've all had to deal with, most of us have had to deal with trauma in some way.
Everybody has.
That's what I mean. Like, and we all deal with it differently, and some of us better than others. How do you think you deal with grief? I know it's kind of a heavy question. But.
Yeah, no. And I was going to say, as you were saying that and we're talking about two professions that I think deal with a lot of emotional, heavy stuff all the time. Police officers, I can't imagine the things that they see and deal with on the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And I know people will laugh, but attorneys are probably one of the biggest professions of alcoholics.
Yeah.
And it's because of a lot of their confidentiality that they're not allowed to talk about what's going on. So they bottle it up.
Yeah.
And so, dealing with grief and trauma, is obviously something we should all recognize and be accepting of. I'll admit, I feel like I bottle up initial grief. I can be what I call very pragmatic and like really be like, all right, it is what it is. This is what was supposed to happen, very much with both of my parents. But I am a tenderoni. Like, I can start crying. Like, back when we had our chairs differently and you would see me from your chair, like something would trigger me. Yeah. And you could see like my eyes well up and you would be like, boo, what's wrong? Yeah. So I can share my grief in different ways at different times, but the initial grief is oftentimes very bottled up. Yeah. Like I've readily admitted, and I always say this because I feel like people are judged about their grief if they don't grieve in the right way or they don't do something 100%. The right way. The night that my dad died, I was at college. Yeah. I didn't have any family around. And so I went out that night. I was like, I just want to be around my friends. I just want to hear loud music and just lose myself until like I just collapsed. Like I wasn't even drinking or anything, but I just went out. A friend of mine and a couple of friends came out and we just went dancing.
You danced it out.
I know people were like, your dad just died. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I know. Right. But this is, I mean, what am I going to do? Just go sit in my room and just do nothing, look at the dark walls. But, I feel like people think that you have to grieve in some certain like line
like
or timeline. Yeah. Because I will also say is, my mom was probably one of those people. Like after I came home from my father's funeral after Thanksgiving, I mean, there was like a sorority formal and I mean, I just went on to start living life. Yeah. And I remember my mom saw one of my scrapbooks. Probably like a year later, I had put it together with pictures and, the sorority pictures a lot of times always had like the name date of the event and the date. And I think it was like the Christmas formal, like December 10th. So like probably 3 weeks after my dad had died. And she was just like, you were at a dance like after your dad died? And I was just like, yes. Yeah. Like I didn't know.
Sit inside all day? Like,
well, and that she probably, if I would have asked her that, she probably would have said yes. And I was just like, I think Dad wanted me to do that, right? Because I had actually considered not going back to school that year, and my dad insisted I did. My mom probably would have nudged me to stay, but my dad was like, no, we're bringing her to college. They actually both brought me and then visited my sister in Dallas afterwards. But when I told her that, I think it like sunk in a minute for her to go, you might be right. Like she was still struggling, but for me to be like, Dad would have wanted me to go back. Like he wanted me to be here. And so I think people still struggle with that a lot. Like if you don't do something the way they want you to do it. Yeah. Or that the way they would do it, you're wrong. Right. And I'm always like, you do you. If that's what makes you happy, you go on that trip or you go to this restaurant or you go and hang out with whoever, or go see that movie, whatever it might be. But I think we all grieve and we all relate to trauma differently. Yeah. So I do. I definitely know I bottle it up, but then I let it out in different ways. What about you? Sorry, I rambled.
No, you're good. That's why we're here. I am going to be completely honest. I don't exactly know how I deal with grief. I don't have like an exact like, I don't want to say formula. That's a weird word to use, but like I don't have like a set. I don't have like a habitual thing that I do with grief. Like it really depends on what it is. Like it. So I'll kind of give an example. Like so the first kind of death I dealt with in my life, like real like death in my life, like a family member, someone that I knew very well, was my cousin. And he was, as you know, I have a lot of family and we all vary in ages. Me and
Calvin side,
yeah. Paternal side. And I had a cousin that passed away, but he was a good, probably like, he was probably like 15 years older than me. So it was like, he lived in Baton Rouge. Like I knew him and stuff like that, but I don't know. Like I was like 12 maybe when it happened. So I was very young and it just didn't fully register in my head what had happened until I was like a little older and I understood, because it wasn't a normal circumstance in which he took his own life, and it was just something that I didn't understand at the time. And even though very shortly after was when I first started experiencing like depression and all of the other things that I dealt with a little bit later in life, in that moment I just didn't understand it. I mean, when I was a little bit older, I kind of grieved it in my own way, but then I was just too young to understand it. It was when my maternal grandpa died when I was 14. That was the first time that I understood what grief was. Like, that was the first time, like, I understood, like, I'm never going to see this person again. Like, I'm never, and I loved my grandpa. Like and you know this, like I'm very, very close to my maternal grandparents, and I was very close to my grandma, and I was very, very close to my grandpa. I love them both so much. And fuck.
Well, I know. Ooh. Yeah. And, I'll say something after, but
we were so close. He was one of the funniest people. I very much feel like I got my sense of humor from him, my silliness from him, and there's like this famous picture of him riding a tricycle with an umbrella and a tiny hat on. He was just a goofball. Like, he just loved making people laugh. And I have so many great grandpa stories. We're not going to get into that on this episode, but he was a character. And when he was gone, it was just like, who am I going to talk to? It was like, who am I going to talk to when I'm at my grandparents' house? Like, who, obviously I have my grandma. I was very, very close to Penny, and I love Penny so much. But it was just so different, and I didn't know how to process it. Like, I didn't know how to, in my mind, I kind of had a very similar mentality that you had with your dad, where it was like, my grandpa would not want us crying. My grandpa would want us laughing and joking and telling stories, and and I kind of saw how my mom dealt with it, and my mom dealt with it in a very much way that I think she thought that he would want her to deal with it. She kind of made jokes, and not at his expense, obviously, but he kind of made the joke about like, oh well, now y'all can go upstairs, because my grandpa was so strict about us going on the second floor. And my mom kept made the joke like, y'all can race up and down the stairs now. It's just kind of that whole thing. And we kind of laughed, and my mom, I probably told the tetanus shot story that was infamous in my family, when I busted my head on a locker at school, and my grandpa was picking me up from school, and the teacher was like, yeah, he busted his top of his head. It was bleeding a little bit. You might want to get a tetanus shot. My grandpa was like, in his mind, he's like, we're not getting him a tetanus shot. But he told the teacher, like, yeah, I'll give him one when we get home. And then he just drove off.
We'll give him one when we get home. Just smack you on the head or something.
Yeah, and it was just so funny. And it was just like it was just him. And like, so I think because of that, I have always chosen to, obviously I get sad when someone close to us passes away, and of course it's upsetting, and I have to grieve, but I also choose to remember the good times, and I choose to remember, like, he would not want us here not talking, crying, sad. He would want us joking and talking all these funny stories, and I think that helped me have a better understanding of what death is, and have a better, it's not so much a loss. It is a loss, but it is a celebration of life. Like, it is very much like a funeral to me should be a celebration of life. It shouldn't be us all sitting around crying, even though that's going to happen. But I think I just choose to try to be positive about it. And then after what happened with Mary Jo, that was probably the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me, or one of. And I shut down when that happened, and I didn't talk to anyone. I kind of felt like kind of everyone just kind of was able to continue living their lives, and I was in this black hole of grief, and I was still in the apartment that we lived in, and everything was hers. Just about everything in that apartment was hers, and it was just kind of like, it was like I was living in a time capsule. It was like my world was at a standstill and everyone else's was moving forward, and it was a very hard time in my life because I had to do it by myself. It wasn't that like I was forced to. It was like the only way for me to come out the other side was I had to, most of it anyway, get through it because of I had to get myself through it. It was like me wanting to come out of it the other side, and then a few years down the road when I met you, it was just kind of that you kind of helped you helped like the final stretch of my grief.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say I pulled you out of it, but I
you did.
I think also with grief and death, especially, and these are going to be like, I'm obviously not comparing in any way of their suffering or the way they died or, whatever, but I think sometimes the grief can also be ameliorated or soothed in some way because it's a relief.
Yeah.
Like, my dad was very young. In fact, I am the same age as my dad.
Yeah.
So this is pretty bizarre that he was suffering.
Yeah.
So his dying to me was a relief.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like
he's not in pain anymore.
He wasn't in pain.
Yeah.
I could accept it because there was nothing we could do.
Right.
My mom was 88 years old.
She lived a great life.
She lived a great life. Yeah. But she was also suffering by that point. So I could accept it.
Yeah.
When you were, and I was 20 when my dad died. So I wasn't like a kid, but I also wasn't an adult. But I was at a point where I knew what was going on.
Right.
When you're 14 and your grandfather or your grandparents, who, and by your experience, were very involved in your life. I mean, they went to your school plays and musicals and sporting events, and y'all had dinners and holidays. So you were very close. So there are people that have grandparents that are like, yeah, they died like 10 years ago.
Right.
I can see how that's traumatic for a 14-year-old. And so when we met, your other grandfather had just passed away. Yeah. Like, I mean, while we were together.
Yeah, you got to meet him one time.
I got to meet him, and we knew that it was, imminent. And then when Penny died, well, there was a lot going on. Maddie was graduating from elementary school, but I also felt like you handled that grief because it was time.
Yeah.
Like, you felt like she had lived a good life, like where, when you talked about, your Penny's husband is Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa was sudden and shocking because I was going to say, was he like 60?
I think he was like, he was 70, maybe he was like 75.
Yeah, I mean, okay, still, but that's still like pretty young. I mean, considering Penny lived to like almost 100.
It was very sudden. Yeah.
And sudden.
Yeah.
So then Mary Jo's, there were a lot of other factors that were not as evident to people. Not only was her method of dying traumatic and shocking, but there were other issues that only you knew about.
Right.
And so the grieving also comes in that where there is slight relief, but there's also emotional tolls on you that I think, again, we bottle up, we don't talk about, because then it's also perceived that you're talking poorly of the dead.
Right.
And that's a hard thing.
That is kind of the tricky thing when someone dies in the way that Mary Jo died. It is very hard not to completely unintentional. I mean, like with zero malice in your intentions, you end up talking about them in what could be perceived as in a negative way.
Correct.
And you're just simply saying how you feel.
Yes.
And it was a very tricky thing to talk to people. And so I just kind of stopped talking to people about it. And also the thing with grief and when people are like, just talk to me about it, you then start feeling like your grief is a burden. And you kind of start feeling like people are just kind of saying, you can talk to me whenever you want. They don't actually mean it. Of course, there are people in both of our lives that are always there for us and always want to hear us. It's not directed at them. It's just, people who are just like, hey, how's it going? You like kind of 30 seconds into telling them, you could tell that they did not really want to know, or they realize how intense it is, and they're just like, whoa, like this is a lot. And it's like, oh, is it a lot? I'm sorry that it's a lot for you. You want to be an asshole about it, but you can't, because then you're an asshole about it. And yeah, it's one of those things where I just wish that we could all just accept that people are grieving. We all grieve differently, but people can't do that. You're like, when you were talking about like the timeline and the timetable that people expect. I mean, it felt like people were, after like a year after she passed away, people that I knew were kind of treating me like, okay, like time to get over it. And it's like, you can't really just get over what I went through. And I know that sounds very like, I went through this hard thing, but like, I'm so special. But it's like what anyone who had to go through. I'm one of millions of people that have had to go through, that were the one that found their loved one after they took their own life. And it was a truly traumatic experience. And it was something that is still a part of me, and it's something that will always be a part of me. And I think we have to start being okay with that. And there's nothing wrong. Once again, I'm not a licensed therapist.
Neither am I.
Only an armchair expert. But I just feel like we need to just start being okay with grieving, and just being okay with talking about it, and being okay with like saying, look, I'm having a really rough day. Can you just kind of leave me alone? Like, can you just give me my space? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think the people asking for it are made to feel guilty, and they're made to feel like they can't grieve, or they can only grieve for a certain amount of time.
In a certain way.
Or you can't go do this while you're grieving. Oh, I thought you went out with your friends. I thought you were grieving. Like, right. And it's just kind of like, I am, God forbid I want to go out and get out of my apartment and go do something fun, right. Like, sorry, I'll just sit and cry in my room. And no, like I eventually I was just like, I have to start living my life. And even though it was really hard, and I'm talking about after Mary Jo died, like it was very hard for me just to be normal again. Like, I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm never going to be normal again. I mean, if I ever was normal, if any of us are normal, but right. I mean, like,
define normal.
I am not going to be who I used to be. I think that's what it was like. I am a different person now. And I think I had to be okay with that. And I think I had to be okay with that. So if someone else had an issue with it, I could just not care. I mean, like, cause I'm like, this is who I am now. And I am more serious now, believe it or not, than I used to be. And I am more, I think, emotionally mature, and I am a lot more empathetic towards people. I definitely feel when other people are grieving, I'm like, you can talk to me. Like, you can tell me anything. Like, and I say that to not anyone, but like, I'm not just gonna go up to strangers and tell them that, but
tell me anything.
I mean, honestly, if they want to, I mean,
message us,
we give out our social at the end of every episode, so you can talk to me anytime you want.
And I think also grieving and trauma come also in line with things that are currently even happening.
Right.
I mean, I have a friend, I will not name her, from high school that is currently dealing with a lot of issues with her husband, and just thinking of like how I've dealt with grief and trauma and other things, people who were sick in, my life, like dealing with my mom who had like dementia and had a stroke and, all of these things. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, forget the whole dying part. The living with trauma is even harder sometimes. I mean, or a lot of times. And so I just messaged her. I was like, she sent our friend group a message and was just like, I'm so sorry to tell you all this. And I'm like, you can call me anytime. I'm like, please. And, I could tell she was holding back.
Yeah.
And so I asked her a pretty direct question, and I was like, you do not have to answer me. And she was just like, I'm so glad you asked me that, because she's like, I didn't feel like I could tell you because I would feel bad. And I'm like, girl, there ain't no judgment here.
Yeah, I hate that people are made to feel that way.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is always a safe place. And then all of our other friends were like, exactly, like, you know, giving me the thumbs up. And I'm like, I know we all feel that way. And sometimes you just have to say it because someone may not just feel like they can offload all their problems on you. Exactly. I might not have the answer, but you can just, you know, tell me anything.
Right.
All right.
So
go us.
Yes, exactly.
All right. On a happier note.
On a happier note, I have this one right here, but we can say it after I do the plot summary. Okay. Because that's usually how we do it. So since this is the last episode of the month, we're going to do what we always do and talk about what you're going to get from us in August, and that's going to be our first once a week month. And I just got to say, we got some good ones. Yeah, these are some bangers. We got some really good ones this month, and I'm really excited. About it. Got a list of questions for every show, so
it's gonna be good.
All right, so let's get into this plot summary, and then we can talk about what you can get from us in August. All right, Department Q, Episode 1, plot summary. 3 police detectives report to the home of a man who hasn't returned his daughter's phone calls. They see that the front door is open. We are seeing this through one of the police officer's body cams. I think that's what made it so much more intense, was like the found footage, like you felt like you were in it kind of thing with the body cams. Yeah, it was really creative how they did that.
Yeah, it was.
The 2 detectives we see on the camera seem to be more experienced, and the police officer with the body cam is the rookie. I believe he says he's 3 months on the job.
Yes.
Which, what I'm about to tell you is going to make this even harsher. They enter the man's home to find him dead in his living room in his recliner. A stab wound to the head. So stab wound to the head, I undersold that originally. So a knife in the skull, isn't easy.
That person that did that was brutal, strong.
So stab wound to the head. As they try to investigate the crime scene, they instruct the rookie cop to check the windows. As the rookie cop enters the kitchen, a masked man enters the home and shoots the 3 officers. The rookie cop dies instantly. One of the detectives is unconscious, and Morck is awake long enough to see the masked man leave the home. Yeah, that was intense. Like, that was. I mean,
it was like,
this is the first 3 minutes of the episode, and this kind of jolts you awake, and you're paying attention now. So we cut to Merritt Lingard, a successful attorney who is listening to a voicemail of a man threatening her. She then heads to the courthouse, and she is shown to be a cutthroat attorney who isn't afraid to stand up to corrupt people for the greater good, making her a target for important people leading crooked lives. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out for her, and she must watch guilty people walk free by manipulating the jury or buying their way out of their crime. Yeah, it's at least a little bit, not a comfort, but at least it's okay to know that just every judicial system is jacked in their own way. After watching, what was it, Anatomy of a Crime? What was it called? Where I think it was a Norwegian film where it was like the woman, the husband fell off the fall. Anatomy of a Fall. Yeah, and it was like I remember that attorney was pissing you off the whole time because he kept bringing up stuff that was irrelevant to the case. Yes. And you were like, what is this? And I'm like, maybe this is just how it is in their country.
Rules of evidence. Yeah, they're crazy everywhere.
It's been a few months since the incident we saw at the beginning of the episode. Morck is returning to work, but is clearly still traumatized by the event. He is forced to attend mandatory therapy sessions with Dr. Irving in order to go back to work. Morck is resistant to going to therapy, but reluctantly opens up, revealing he thinks he's smarter than most people. Morck returns to work, much to everyone's shock. He ignores all his coworkers except for Rose, a young police officer. She mentions Akram, a former Syrian police officer desperately trying to get a job at their police station. Moira Jacobson, the commanding officer, is under pressure from the higher-ups that they have too many unsolved crimes, and a lot of people feel all these cases are slipping through the cracks. The higher-ups are willing to give Moira a substantial budget. I had typed substantial budget before they said it in the script. I'm just going to go ahead. And say that.
There you go.
I mean, it's the only way you could describe a big budget. A substantial while being professional. To create the new department that exclusively investigates cold cases. So a thing that I forgot to mention was that Moira, the commanding officer, she's kind of like, we're giving you this money, spend spend it how you will, necessarily saying that they all kind of think that this new department is a waste of time. They're not really putting much effort into it. So she's kind of like, so I am in control of the budget. So it's like, okay, so she's like, okay.
Puts them in a basement.
Yeah, so keep that in the back of your head. Yeah, Morck goes to visit James, the other surviving police detective from the shooting. Morck brings him a beer and tries to talk to him, but he doesn't respond. So he's awake, he's cognitive, he just isn't speaking.
Yeah.
Back to Merritt he's able to talk, he just is choosing to not talk. Back to Merritt Lingard, the attorney from earlier. So the reason why I have to keep doing that is because these two people have nothing, these two storylines have nothing to do with each other.
That's why I was saying it's like Law and Order, but not really, because they're not related.
It's like Law and Order, but like
not
two different buildings.
Yeah.
There's law and then there's order way on the other side of town. Back to Merritt Lingard from earlier. She drives to her secluded home in the countryside and is greeted by Claire, her housekeeper and caretaker for Merritt's disabled brother, William. Merritt feels threatened by Claire, who she feels treats William like her son. Later that night, while doing work from home, she gets an email from an unknown sender threatening her, but then reveals that the unknown sender is possibly watching her, because he's basically like, you're just sitting by your computer drinking wine, like exactly what she's doing, like describing exactly what she's doing. Moira decides to appoint Morck as the sole member of the new cold cases department. She assures him that he will have endless resources and his own office, which is in the basement. So Moira basically is working around the system. She's like, okay, I'm only going to put one person in charge of this and working in this department, and then she goes and buys the whole department brand new computers. Like, right. So it's just basically like, oh, now I have this budget. I only have to pay one person for this thing. We have these already existing cold cases, and then that's it. Morck goes to talk to Moira and is shocked to see just what I said. He is shocked to see that she had spent the substantial budget on new computers for everyone and not the new department. Even though she is in control of the budget, she still doesn't want Morck to act out, so she promises to hire an assistant for him and will try to get him a company car. Yeah, at least try to like work the system along with it. If you're going to get screwed into getting into this crappy department, be like, well, now he's going to get a car that's paid for and he's going to get like, his endless resources. Morck assigns, so Moira hires Akram, the guy I talked about earlier, to be his new assistant. Morck assigns Akram to organize and categorize all the cold case files. Morck goes to visit James in the hospital. We eventually learn he is paraplegic, and he finally speaks to Morck when he starts talking about his new department. So a little bit earlier in that scene, there was he goes into the hospital room, and they were like, the nurse was like, oh, he had a bad spill. So they were implying that he tried to jump out the window.
Yeah.
They didn't say it, but there was like a little exchange, eye contact exchange, and you kind of started understanding. So you're really feeling bad for this guy, like he's been through it. They both have been through it, and, he's ready to give up. But he starts becoming interested in Morck's new department, and I think that's what kind of like livens him up, is kind of talking about work again.
Yeah.
Merritt's threatening messages begin to escalate, and she realizes it's not safe for her and William anymore. They decide to leave town and relocate. While taking a ferry, William and Merritt get into a fight, and he hits her in front of several people, which leads someone to call the police. Akram is looking through the files, trying to find one that Morck can work on. He is instantly drawn to one particular case. When Morck returns, Akram has left the file on his desk. He begins looking through the case file, and we see pictures of Merritt and William on the ferry.
Dun, dun, dun.
We learn that everything we've seen with Merritt and her brother took place 4 years ago, and Merritt has been missing ever since. One of the last places she was seen was on the ferry. Morck insists she's probably dead, but Akram says his gut says otherwise. And then the final scene of the episode, which I did not catch the first time we watched, but the second time I caught it, we see Merritt being held captive in some type of fallout shelter, and she is still alive. So if that doesn't hook you in, I don't know what will. I mean, like, good God, that was such a good episode.
It was great how they juxtaposed, like, you thought this was all going on.
And that's why we were saying there were two completely separate things. So you're like, okay, he's a cop, she's a lawyer. How is she moving to London? Like,
then we didn't talk what totally was Merritt's like prosecution case was all about, so that can come into play, and that might be important. So
and you kept pointing that out, and I was like, that's a great angle. So yeah, it's on Netflix. It's 9 episodes. I think we're gonna definitely keep watching this show since it's so easy, and now that we have a little bit more time to watch shows, this was so good. Like, I can't wait to keep watching it. All right, so let us talk about August. So I don't even know how to set up this one.
Okay.
I usually have like in the month of this where this happens.
Well,
it is the beginning of fall.
Well, no, that's not why I picked it. It was because of back to school, and one of like the first things you learn in school are your colors and your numbers. So
that's where you got that from?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yes, it's back to school and your colors. I don't know
if we ever went over how you got that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are doing TV shows. Cut to we are smash cut. We Star Wipe. Wow.
All right.
Anyway,
we're back.
So I was thinking TV in color because TV eventually went from black and white to color.
No.
Anyway, so we are doing TV shows with colors in the title.
Yes.
Which really kind of gave a really great variety of shows. And
yes.
we had a catalog. There is, luckily, thanks to the internet and thanks to all of these dedicated people who love TV shows so much
and rankings,
there are so many of every
lists.
TV show with colors in the title. I'm like, hell yeah. I would just like look down this entire list. I'm like, oh, there's this show. We'd already thought of some. And so we are really excited. There's going to be one of kind of everything. There's going to be a sitcom. There's going to be
drama.
There's going to be an erotic drama, y'all.
Sexy time. Get your
I
red
wasn't
wine
sure
out.
if we were ever going to do an erotic drama thriller.
Oh,
is it a thriller? An erotic drama.
A drama.
It might get thriller at some point. So really excited.
Sexy.
We got some great shows. Got a classic that everyone's gonna love. We have
a
current favorite that everyone's doing impressions of a certain actress.
Just nominated like practically the entire cast. So
so really, really excited. I know we keep talking about it, but we got some great shows, and I gotta say, like, it's kind of fun being excited about shows because doing 8 or 9 a month, like, it just becomes so taxing. And then doing this once a week, I feel so refreshed, and I just feel like.
And I will say, even in something like this, that was kind of like our project.
Yeah.
You were probably the big leader on like the production and all the stuff behind the scenes. Talking to you. Speaking of things like grief and communication, when we were talking about it, I think it's good that we communicate about a lot of things because I could tell it's a lot on you. And I even said that, like, you work full time, you work in a kitchen on your feet. It's hot, it's sweaty. And then even on your days off, you were working on the pod, and trying to get out 2 episodes a week is a lot of work. I mean, professional podcasters only do 1 and we're trying to do 2. So, I feel like we had good discussions and we feel great about going down to 1, which is actually more normal. I mean, YouTubers and stuff or professionals do.
Yeah, we're not
2 a week.
We're not Let's Play gamers.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, I feel like those conversations were good, and I can already tell, like, we don't feel rushed or we don't feel burdened. We can watch other shows longer term. We don't feel like, okay, we've got to watch these 12 shows for the pod this month. So I'm happy about it.
Me too.
And I think it definitely is going to be lighter and funner and give us a little bit more opportunity to have more questions and conversations. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Sorry, I took over again.
No, you're good. I forget about all these little doodles I have on this final
and mine
page.
Is like the original.
I am Mr. ADD. I have a little scorpion spider right
You're
there.
Like doodling a tornado or something.
I have just an X hand. I have Virginia is for lovers. I still don't know. Oh, that must have been Georgia and Jenny.
Yeah.
Virginia. I have beans and beard.
Oh my God.
GOTAD Gilded Age. I don't know why I wrote that. Football with a little football globe. Oh I am a weirdo.
Yes, you are.
The pin, the pill, the crow. I think like you were doing emojis, and I'm like, that sounds like the pin, the pill, the crow.
Exactly.
I don't know why. Anyway, we are beyond loopy right now. Anna's about to go to Portland and leave me for the weekend, so I will be editing episodes. All right, so I think that wraps this one up.
Yeah.
You think? All right. Thanks. That wraps up this episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. That way you'll be notified every time we publish a new episode. You can follow us on Instagram at WeJudgePilotPod. We're also on Facebook. You can leave us a comment, suggest a show for us to watch, or leave some emojis in the comments. I even have Scrubs written right there, too. What you got for the emojis? I know you don't have a big list.
I don't. I have, of course, the UK flag.
It's the last one. You can't do it anymore.
Last one. Can't do it anymore unless we do something UK. And I also forgot to say, this is a sidebar from the emoji. During our honeymoon, we went to see the Broadway musical Avenue Q. So I thought this was cute that we did Department Q.
Yes.
Okay.
Two completely different things.
Two completely unrelated things.
One had puppet sex in it. Guess which one it was.
Guess which one. All right. The policeman, the scales for the lawyers, the judge, emojis, the computers, because they bought all the new computers, the phone, the hospital, a boat. I don't know if there's like an actual ferry emoji, and papers for all the files and all the stuff that he's going through. All right. Well, we're going to head out, but we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.